Well, Arovella Therapeutics is working in the emerging area of cell therapy to treat cancers. It recently completed an oversubscribed $4 million placement. So, why the raise? What's it for? Dr. Michael Baker joins me now. Welcome to ausbiz. Thank you so much for joining us. I think that's a really good place to start. What are you raising this capital for?
Much for having me, Nadine. So we're raising the money to take our lead program called ALA 101, which is a cell therapy that we're developing to tackle CD9 producing leukemias and lymphomas. And the key use of the funds is to drive that towards clinical trials, which we're expecting to start in 2024. But also we've got some other interesting collaborations and partnerships. So some of that funds will be used to capture additional data for additional programs to go into solid tumours.
Okay, what are these collaboration? What are these partnerships?
Yeah, we entered into a strategic collaboration with another biotechnology company called Imugene at the end of last year. And so what we're doing is our cell therapy tackles or targets something that's called CD19 found on the surface of on the surface of any tumor cell. And what Imugene have done is through years of work from a technology they licensed out of City of Hope, they basically use a virus to infect solid tumor cells. And then on the surface of those solid tumors, they produce CD19. So the two therapies together will work very well synergistically, we're expecting. And so we started that collaboration. We got really promising what we call in vitro or in the test tube data. And now we're working towards getting more data in animal models before the end of the year.
Okay, yeah, so Imutemp, many of our viewers would be familiar with. Is there any guarantee that this relationship continues? I mean, obviously it's good to be associated with a company like that is, making real strides when it comes to, phase testing, or how will this likely progress?
Well, it all depends on data. That's really the currency for all biotechnology companies and healthcare companies. So we take it step by step. And of course, if we have the same level of promise in the animal data that we saw from the initial test tube tests, then that gives us promise that we could consider taking that into clinical trials. So data is critical in this sector, and we let the data lead the way.
Okay, so you're raising capital now. Didn't you just raise money sort of back in January?
Yes, we did. We raised about 1.65 million in a very small placement. And since that time, actually, the share price went up about 300%. So at some point, and it has come off a little bit now, but we're also currently in the middle of an SPP with the same issue price as the offer price for the placement that we just recently completed. So I think for biotech, again, we're companies, we don't generate revenue, so we always need to make sure that we're well funded. And I think from your report a moment ago, we can see that the sector broadly is having a hard time. So it's important to make sure that we're well funded to deliver on our programs.
Yeah, and so what is next in your programs? I know that we talked about what the money is actually going to fund, but just give us some sort of an idea of the blue sky, like the plan for the company and to bring this technology to fruition, because as you referenced, it's a very long road.
It is a long road, but what's quite fascinating about cell therapies, and let me just give you an idea of what's coming next. So we're working through the preclinical stages to manufacture the drug, and then we can take that into clinical trials once we get approval from regulators like the FDA in the US or the TGA to start those clinical trials. But what we've seen for therapies like this is bigger companies or large pharma are far more willing to engage from an acquisition point of view, or even from a strategic partnership point of view for a license deal to get involved. So even at the preclinical stage, early phase 1, we have seen a number of transactions which you leverage the skill sets of the two companies. We've got a really exciting novel cancer treatment that we're one of a handful worldwide working on this type of approach. So we do that well. They have obviously a lot of experience designing clinical trials and taking therapeutics to market. So I think it's a matter of leveraging the skill sets from both sides.
Can I just go back? I'm just looking at the announcements to market. Back in April, you had a price query from the ASX. It looks like it took a little back and forth to get it resolved. What was that about?
Yeah, just some back and forth, I think, on when's the best time to present data. And so we're just mindful of always adhering to our obligations. When we go to a conference, which was really important for the company, like the American Association of Cancer Research, we want to present good data. But when we have that story all wrapped up and we understand that data fully, that's the right time to put that data out onto the market as well.
Yeah, okay. And your shareholder base. So is this, because I know with a lot of biotechs, you've got sort of core, really, hardcore shareholders that are that know the story, that understand the technology, that believe in it, or is it mostly retail? Like, how do you speak with, and what is your register like?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, since I've joined the company 3 years ago, the register is in far better shape. I think we've got wonderful, supportive shareholders like Merchant as our largest shareholder who do understand the sector. And like you referenced before, right, they appreciate that it can be a long road for returns, but that's really important. So we do have a significant amount of retail shareholders for sure. And I think, on all levels, what we're trying to do as a company is we're trying to make significant inroads into helping the lives of cancer patients. And that's something that resonates with most people. Naturally, as we speak to institutions and funds, they do want to get into the nitty-gritty of the scientific details a lot more. But that's great, because I think the deeper we dive into the science, the more it makes sense. We originally licensed this platform from Imperial College London, which is a top 10 university worldwide. So scientifically, I think the approach is really sound, and we're looking forward to driving this into clinic next year.
Yeah, and are you frugal running the company? I understand that you closed a facility in Perth, I think it was. I don't know if it was to save money. The ultimate outcome was it was saving money. I mean, how do you run the business?
Very, very frugally. I think that's in my personal life as well, right? I think it's just good to be sensible with the spending. And what we've seen, I think, over the course of the last 24 months is, it was a pretty buoyant 2021, and a lot of companies, I think, went pretty hard at building manufacturing capabilities and bringing in a lot of people. So we've stayed quite lean. In fact, we've gotten leaner for the right reasons. And the way we operate is we do things virtually. So we actually don't have offices or research facilities. We contract those things out. So we're in control of when we spend it and who we take it to. So definitely, I think that's really important for a biotech company. They can be quite cash hungry. So making sure you're saving where you can is really important.